you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. We welcome you to today's show and ask those of you who have not subscribed to please subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to expose the satanic Illuminati agenda and the ushering in of the Antichrist. Today's show I want to talk about another symbol. It's a symbol that we've all used before. We're all guilty in our lifetime at some point of flashing this symbol. Yet it's another symbol that we think means one thing, but has very occultic meaning behind it, and that is the middle finger. I think at one point in time, we've all flipped somebody off out of anger or frustration before, and if you're somebody out there that hasn't, well, good for you. Good discipline that shows in your life for not doing that, but I personally have been guilty of it, and of course repented for having done that. But I want to talk to you about what the middle finger really stands for, what it really means, because it doesn't just mean screw you, pal, like most of us are led to believe. When somebody slights you or does something wrong, you might give them the middle finger. When you're driving and someone cuts you off, you might give them the middle finger. And to you, it might mean go blank yourself or screw off or screw you. But again, like I've said over and over, all of these hand symbols have occultic meaning to them. All symbols are tainted in Satanism, just like the peace sign, just like the AOK sign, which is really the 666 sign, all of these symbols. So let's talk about what it truly means and where its origins are from. As we learn in the Bible, mediums, psychics, these kinds of people are an abomination to God. And that's really where it comes from. It roots from psychics and palm readers and people who practice all sorts of magic. There's meanings behind each finger on your hand. And the middle finger represents Saturn. And as we learn in Scripture, as we're told from our Father in heaven, in such verses such as Leviticus 19:31, do not turn to mediums, do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them. I am Lord your God. We also learn in Deuteronomy 18:9-12, there shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, which we learn about as far as human sacrifice goes, and the things that these Satanists really perform. It goes on to say, anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium, or one who inquires of the dead, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. So we know that all of this stuff that they do, as far as palm reading, it's all satanic, all of that stuff. So if you're someone who's Christian, a lot of lukewarm Christians go and see mediums and think that this stuff is okay. It is not okay. It is an abomination to God, so don't do that. But what they're taught and what they practice as far as reading palms and doing these things, there's meanings behind all these areas of your hand. There's meanings behind each finger. So the middle finger represents Saturn. And as we know, or as I know, and most of you out there who study the occult and study the Illuminati and Satanism, Saturn represents Satan. Okay, Saturn and Satan are one and the same. So when you're giving the middle finger to somebody, when you think that you're saying, screw you, pal, what you're really doing is you're paying homage to Satan. You're paying homage to Saturn. It's no different than doing the peace sign. It's no different than doing the devil horn, rock and roll sign. All of these symbols, all are occultic. And people think, what do you think? Somebody just one day woke up and they said, man, I really want to have a symbol for the F word, and he held his middle finger up. We don't ask questions. That's part of the problem with our society. We don't look for the origins of things. We just go and we regurgitate what we're told and what we see on television and what we see on the radio and what we're told in the schools. We regurgitate it as truth, and we never dig into the origins of any of this stuff. So the middle finger, something where, you would think somebody might say, hey, all right, where did this actually come from? Who started this thing? And I'm sure they probably have some made up, reason that it started, although I didn't see any from my research on it. All I saw from my research on it is that in mysticism, in mediums and these psychics, in the practices that they do, the sorcery that they do, that the middle finger represents Saturn. And it shouldn't be a surprise, because we know that all of these symbols that they do with their hands, whether it's with their eye, with the 666 sign, which is the A-OK sign, they cloak it to have another meaning. So the middle finger, which is probably the most commonly used hand gesture, even though we all know it means something bad, it means, screw you, to say it nicely. I mean, screw you. That's what we've been told. So we flip somebody off when something bad happens to us, or we flip somebody off that we don't like, or we flip somebody off when we lose our temper. But we're really paying homage to Satan when we do any of these hand symbols. And I know it's really hard to stop doing a lot of these hand symbols because they've indoctrinated us with them. And then they use the same hand symbols, and we think it means one thing when it really means the other. And it's important to know this stuff because you don't want to pay homage to Satan, obviously. You don't want to invoke him. You don't want to invoke any demons by showing these symbols to them, because that's what it does. You summon these spirits, you summon these things around you because you're paying homage to Satan, whether you know you are or you're not. So we really have to train ourselves not to do these, these hand gestures. We have to train ourselves not to do this stuff. And it's a process. It's definitely a process. It's very hard, the awakening process, to separate ourselves from all of the things that we've done. Even though giving the middle finger is not a Christian thing to do, it is not something really anyone should do, but we all lose our tempers. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of losing my temper from time to time, that's for sure, as you could tell when you listen to this channel. But it's really a discipline process. You have to just slowly, little by little, as you learn this information, try to stay out of an alpha state and stay in an awake state and an awake presence and an awake consciousness, so that you're aware of what you're doing. And right before, if somebody gets you mad, right before you're about to flip him off, remember the meaning of what it truly means, and don't pay homage to Saturn/Satan. Because when you do that, like I said, you are paying homage to him, and that's what they want. That's why they create all of these hand gestures, because Satan wants people, whether it's inadvertent or not, to pay homage to him. He wants all of that. He's prideful. He wants everybody here to worship him and not worship our Father in heaven. And by doing these symbols, you are inadvertently worshiping him, whether you know it or not. He doesn't care. He sees it. He knows. That's part of this whole deception. We've been tricked into doing all these occultic hand gestures over the last century or so. It's just something you have to keep in mind. You have to stay conscious. You have to think of these things. If you're taking a picture, I know people message me and they say, I throw up the peace sign. That's because they've indoctrinated you with the peace sign. They've indoctrinated us with these symbols, because when somebody says, say cheese, you have, naturally people just throw up a symbol because they know they're going to be on Facebook, or they know it's going to be somewhere. They want to look cool. The celebrities throw up the symbols. That's why they have the celebrities throwing up the peace sign. That's why they have celebrities throw up the middle finger. That's why they have celebrities throw up the devil horns all the time. That's why they have them throw up the 666 A-OK sign. It's to indoctrinate you so that you start using the same symbols. Okay, it's conditioning so that when all of this stuff goes down, which is in the process of happening with the ushering in of the Antichrist, these are going to be the symbols that are used. You're still going to, most of these people will still think it means one thing and not realize what it truly means. Because like I said, they cloak these symbols so that people continue to flash it. They continue to do work for Satan by getting the masses to support him through these gestures. So don't do it. So be aware. And if you're somebody, like I said, who is into tarot cards and all this garbage, all this nonsense that people get into, no idea why. Lukewarm Christians get into it and they think it's okay. They think they're channeling, a long lost relative. You're channeling demons. You can't talk to a long lost relative. You're getting deceived by demons. That's what happens when you do this stuff. But the Bible tells us that this stuff is real, that magic is real, that sorcery is real, that all of this stuff is real, and we have to stay as far away from it as possible. It is an abomination to God. And when we throw up the middle finger and do stuff like that, we're in a sense almost practicing these things, because we are invoking demonic presences near us. We are paying homage to Satan. So don't go see mediums. Don't throw up the middle finger. Don't throw up the peace sign. Try to slowly separate yourself from doing that. That's what this channel is about. I've been telling you all of these signs. I'm not passing judgment on anyone out there. I'm just as guilty as everyone else. Okay, I'm not going to say I went through life and I never flipped somebody off. Like I said, I obviously have a temper from time to time, and sometimes I'm not even thinking, and I do it. But we all have to work together to reprogram our minds to not always be in an alpha state of mind, a sleeping state, to not always be on our phones, to not always be watching television, because that's when they get you. And when you're in the alpha state of mind, they indoctrinate you with these symbols, and then you use these symbols, and you never even go, I don't even know what the meaning is behind this symbol. But I'm doing it, I'm flashing it. Somebody made it up at some point. And when you look into the true origins of it, you see that all of this stuff is occultic and satanic. So stay aware and stay awake and try to stop yourself from doing it when you're about to do it. Try to always tell yourself, I'm up, someone says cheese, I'm taking a picture. I've always thrown up a peace sign. That's been my symbol. Well, don't do it anymore. Try not to do it. Try to be aware. We have to stop paying homage to Satan through doing these things. That's how they're winning this spiritual war. And that's how they've indoctrinated our brothers and sisters into turning away from God. Because they're constantly doing these things. They're lukewarm in their faith. And they're paying worship to Satan. They're summoning and invoking these spirits around them. And we're losing the spiritual warfare all around us. So we have to be aware and awake. And that's what this is about. It's about an awakening. So together, through prayer, through being conscious and awake and paying attention to things, we can awaken the masses. But we need to start with ourselves. And then we need to spread this. Share the information. Help one another out. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families. May peace be with you.